Today I finally got something I've been wanting for a long time. This is a generator, but this is a generator that does not have a carburetor. One of the biggest reasons that I ever see generators fail, so you pull the thing out, you hit the button, you try to pull the starter, nothing gets that guy to go, is because the carburetor gunked up because the fuel was not properly pulled out, or even if it was still gunked up. I hate dealing with carburetors. This is a generator with EFI, that means electronic fuel injection, no carburetor. On top of that, you can see that this is an XP15000HXT plus. The 15,000 means 15,000 peak watts. Now, of course, that always has fine print. 15,000 is going to be the absolute max, so that's going to be peak power. We can see right here, if we're running on natural gas, the running load is 10,500. If we're running on gasoline, it is 12,000. And if we're running on propane, it is 11,400. What you can't see with that, this is a tri-fuel that can run on gasoline, propane, or natural gas. So no matter what you got on hand, you can use it with any of that. And if you're running it on natural gas, you're not going to have to worry about the gasoline gunking up anything anyway, because that is natural gas. Same thing with the propane. Ideally, you would run it on either two of those, but if you don't have a hookup in your house for the natural gas, if you don't have a propane tank on site, or if you just need the absolute max amount of power that you can get, we can always run that thing on gasoline. Now, that EFI is still going to be for a gasoline engine, so if you're not going to be running gasoline through it, the EFI doesn't matter. I always wanted a tri-fuel, something I can run on natural gas, because that can just basically run off of the house. You do have to have the hookup for it, but you never have to worry about driving down, picking up some more gas to bring home so that you can keep on running your generator. On top of that, it'll run for about half the price, so that's price per hour of gasoline. Natural gas is definitely the way to go. That's what I'm going to be doing, but I still want to have the capacity of running gasoline without having to deal with a carb. I've been holding on getting a generator for a long time because I've been wanting this exact model. I just didn't know it until I saw it. So we do got our handy dandy little instruction thing. It came with some stickers. Got what looks like a quick start guide. Very handy thing to have. And then we got something I've been seeing less and less of these days. We actually have a full thick manual that comes with this guy. And they actually spared no expense. We got nice big pictures, nice large lettering for people like me that have a hard time reading small lettering. It even has examples of the wire gauge you need depending on how many watts you're to be pulling and how much length in feet that you're going to need to make that run. We've got a full-on maintenance log. You would probably want to do that anyway, but the fact that they got that built right into the manual, that's nice. Well, check that out. We actually got a full-on wiring diagram, which is something I love seeing. Quite often with modern day equipment, they want to keep all this stuff hidden. They want to make it so that you cannot work on your own equipment. But with this, they actually gave you this full-on diagram. This is something I want to see. We've got our ground right there, and that is bonded to our neutral. So this is a bonded generator. So that's something I love to see. If you're going to be running this completely isolated for the grid, that is an extremely important thing to have. So I'm very glad that they did that with this. You can always convert that to a floating neutral, but I prefer a bonded neutral with anything I'm going to be buying stock. Basically what that means is if you're dealing with something and the live wire or black wire or a line wire, if that ever touches the frame, it is going to create a dead short that will trip the breaker, and you're not going to have to worry about frying your equipment or potentially harming yourself. If it was a floating neutral, then you would not have any of those protections. Okay. So we got some big solid tires on here. These are not pneumatic tires. You don't have to worry about airing them up. They're always going to be the right size. And that actually feels pretty good for a solid tire. It does actually have bearings, so it's not just going to be rubbing. So if you need to haul this guy over a long distance, you're not going to worry about that wearing out your axle. And we have got our two handles, nice rubber grip on there. And it looks like fairly decently thick material. All right, we also got our propane hose. That does come with a 1/2-inch quick disconnect. We've got our regulator right here. And it's kind of hard to see, but you can see that this is rated for indoor or outdoor, which is important because you would think that they would all be rated for outdoor, but they are not all the time. Sometimes these are only rated for indoor. This is basically designed for making a quick connect for your gas stove or something like that inside your house. This one is rated for indoor or outdoor. We got a funnel. We got a couple of plugs so we can make up our own cable. That's kind of nice. And we've got our feet. And here we got our natural gas hose. This is a 1/2-inch. I believe for this generator, we're probably going to need a 3/4-inch, but it comes with a 1/2-inch. But we can see it's got a very similar quick disconnect. It does have a little cover for it to make sure that we're not getting anything foreign inside of there. It comes with a male for connecting to our house, and it even comes with a female quick disconnect, so we can plug that into our house, so we have everything we need to connect straight to it if we don't already have a quick disconnect on our house. Now this is a 1/2-inch with a female thread on the back. My house is also threaded for female, so I would need to get a nipple to connect from the house to this quick connect. And we've got a charger. So this is another thing that's great about this generator. It actually has a port on the back. So we got a barrel connector here. We got a 2-prong charger right here. That is good for 100, 240 volts. That's good for international or domestic. That puts 2.2 amps at 14 volts. So this will basically be our trickle charger for the battery so that we can just hit the button and have that guy start. We don't have to grab on anything and pull it to get that guy going. Normally, you're going to have to buy a trickle charger separately, connect that to your battery to have that thing so it's always ready to go. This one actually comes with everything that you need right here. So this is a fairly large and fairly heavy generator. We're looking at 250 pounds, but the thing that's great about this one, so they make another one that is also an XP15000HXT, but it's not the Plus, so it does not have the EFI. It can output the same amount of watts. It has a larger motor, it is way bigger, and it is way heavier. So we're talking 350 pounds versus the 250 pounds of this one. This is 100 pounds lighter. The carbureted version is about 6 inches wider, 6 inches longer, and 6 inches taller than this one. So it's a much smaller blueprint. If you need to fit into a smaller spot, this is the one to get. If you just want something that's going to be 100 pounds lighter, this is going to be the one to get. But on top of that, because we got the EFI, it's actually going to get better fuel economy, so it's going to run for the exact same amount of time, but it's going to do it with a smaller gas tank. This is an 8.3 gallon gas tank, so if you run that at 25% load, so a very low load, but if you don't need all of that power, then that's great. You could run that for about 17, I think it was 17.9 hours, which is exactly the same as the other version. So you're going to get a lot better fuel economy, which means if you don't want to spend all that money on gas, this is definitely going to be the one to get. Just another benefit of having electronic fuel injection. Just makes the motor run better, better fuel economy, and again, you don't have to deal with the carb. I hate carbs, if you can't already tell. The first thing we need to do is we need to get to the underside, so we need to flip this guy over on its back. There are still some staples in this cardboard right here, so I'm just going to rip this off. I'm going to rip this side off. I'm going to put that there, and then we can flip that guy over. That 100 pounds less definitely makes a difference. So the first thing is to remove the shipping braces. So these are these little red guys right there. I like that they even painted those bright red so we can't miss them. This is a 10 millimeter. There is a nut on the back side. I'm going to see if I can zip that off without having to use a backer wrench. There you go. So it's just a bolt, a nut, and a washer. Now we got the same thing right here. That was just a bolt and a nut. And these are our braces, so that is basically just making it so that those motor mounts aren't vibrating around, so that as they are shipping that thing, you don't have to worry about wearing those motor mounts out prematurely. So very happy that they did that. So in that Ziploc bag, we got our wrenches, we got our axles, we got a tool pouch with some extra tools in it. We got a small bag with our hardware, a couple nuts and bolts to get everything assembled. So first thing is we're going to use these nylon lock nuts, and that is going to be to attach our axles. As that threads on, that nylon is going to lock onto there. We're not going to have to worry about that thing spinning off in the future. So that's going to go in here, and we put our nut on the back. So for this, our backer is going to be a 17 millimeter. That's going to be what holds the axle. We got a 19 millimeter for the nut. We're going to go washer, wheel, and you can see that we got this axle sticking out. That is going to go toward the generator. Got another washer, and we got a cotter pin. So now for the front, we got a zip tie here, and that is holding a wood block. So that is basically protecting the front motor supports. And we got our feet, and it looks like we've actually got 2 spots that we can put this. So we're gonna have a wider stance or a narrower stance. So if you're putting this onto a spot where you don't have quite as much room, we can use that. I'm gonna use the wide stance. And this is just gonna take 2 nuts. We can see the bolts are already welded to that brace, so we don't even need to use a backer wrench for that. And these are also nylon lock nuts. Oh yeah, that is nothing. So let's take a look at our front panel. That's nice. A little protector there on our outlet covers. So our main breaker does have a gelatin cover on it, so we don't have to worry about that thing being out in the rain. All of our outlets have the same, as well as our breakers right here. We have a ground, our display right here. So it looks like these are GFCI protected as well as anti-tamper, so you don't have to worry about somebody putting their fork in those outlets. We got a total of 4 plugs there, and then for our NEMA 1450, we've got 2 plugs right there. They do also have a threaded connection, so if we need to mount something permanently, we can do that. We have a charging port right here, which again, being built in, that is just an awesome thing so that we can charge up our battery. We have our gas hookup right here. Nice rubber cap on there. That is a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is again going to be one of those things where it's going to be a little weird, because for a generator of this size, you want to have a 3/4 inch line going to it. Now it comes with a 1/2 inch hose, but it says that you want to connect to a 3/4 inch on the other side of that hose. So I actually purchased a 3/4 inch hose to go to it, but even at a 3/4 inch, it can go to that 1/2 inch. That won't be a problem, because when it hits here, it's going to start shrinking down. That's not going to be an issue. The main thing is just really that we need to have that flow going to it, especially uninterrupted. So if you're to connect to a 1/2 inch line on the outside of your house, if that is actually branched off of another circuit, so you got your water heater or your furnace or something like that also running on that same line, that could choke it out. But ideally, you're going to have a 3/4 inch line if you're using natural gas going straight to your meter. Then we got these switches right here. So we got natural gas, gasoline, and propane. There is no off. We don't have to cut off the fuel. There's no switch on the back where we have to turn off the fuel. Again, no carburetor. You don't have to worry about a choke. Literally, you just select the gas that you want, turn it on, so that'll connect to our battery, hit start, and then it will start. So it could not be easier. So again, limiting the number of things that you have to deal with, especially if you're in an emergency situation, or even if you have to explain over the phone to somebody that's not used to generators, how to deal with the choke and how to deal with the fuel cutoff. Making it that easy where you just select 2 switches, hit power. This is definitely the way to go for simplicity of use. So it did actually come with some instructions. It's nice plastic coated, so you don't have to worry about these things getting worn down. And that is for the different fuels. So we got one for gasoline, propane, and natural gas. That is going to be for starting and shutting down. We do have a pull start. So in the event that you forgot about your battery, you let it go. We do have the capacity to start this up manually. And we have a remote start. We got start and we got stop. So not many people are going to be in kind of like the luxury setup to where they're going to have this thing always plugged in. That's going to be a pretty rare thing, but the fact of the matter is this does come with this key if that is a setup that you want to have. More importantly, for someone like me, if I want to go observe something, I don't need to have somebody standing by next to the generator to start it up. I can literally do everything by myself. So very nice that we got that guy. And the only other thing we got back here is going to be our air filter. All right. So nice regular good old-fashioned air filter. That's not one of those like foam air filters that they just kind of cut to fit. This is a legitimate air filter. And that is about a 7.5 by about 4.25 inch filter. And the filter material itself is about 6.5 by 3.5. It's actually a metal cover for that as well. This is an 8mm. This is where we connect the battery. I use a 10mm to loosen up this bolt. I'm just going to drop a nut in the bottom of that lug, drop our bolt in the top of this eyelet, and thread that back in. And same thing for the positive. So if we turn it on now, we can't see, we do have lights. So the last thing is going to be oil. So it's got a little oil viscosity chart. It says that 10W30 is going to cover between 0 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're not sure if you're going to be using it in the winter or the summer, you just get the 10W30. If you know you're going to be running it in primarily a hot location, you can go up to 10W40. And if you know you're going to be going to a very cold location, then you can look for 5W30. So synthetic oil may be used after the 8-hour initial break-in period. So that means that before, while we're doing it right now, the first oil we want to put in is going to be conventional. That's important because synthetic oil is actually a little bit extra slippery. So all the places where all the metal has to wear in, it needs to actually be able to wear in, and it can only really do that with conventional oil. If you go straight to synthetic, then the oil could actually blow by all the places where it's supposed to seal, and you're never going to get that proper wear in. So start with conventional, then after 8 hours, you can change that out to synthetic if you want. We do have another reference to that in the maintenance area. It says break-in period, run the generator for 6 to 8 hours on conventional oil. Then change the oil. After the break-in period, synthetic oil may be used. Now, the funnel that it came with was folded over, so it's got this kink right here. I'm going to see if I can still use it regardless. And I'm going to be using Pennzoil conventional 10W30. This motor takes 1.1 liters. This should be good for a little bit over 4 oil changes. I'm just going to thread this guy in and unthread it. You can see right here it is filled up those first two bubbles, so it's a little bit under halfway. So anywhere in here is acceptable, but I want to run that a little bit higher just in case we do have a drip somewhere. That is what we are looking for. We are just underneath that H right there, so we are at the high mark. So we are looking good at this point. I'm going to charge up the battery, then supply fuel, and we will give that guy a test. We do have a reference here. It says that the generator requires at least a 3/4 inch quick connect to operate properly. We need 6 to 9 inches of water column for natural gas, so that is the pressure. And it's going to use 278,000 BTU at full load, so that's approximately 278 cubic feet per hour. So you can see for half-inch pipe, even if we go all the way down to 10 feet, we're only going to get 172 cubic feet per hour. At 3/4 inch, at 10 feet, we get 360, and we get 247 at 20 feet. So you can see it goes down pretty sharp. Ideally, you're going to have a 10-foot to fully supply that generator if you're going to be using 100% load. Or if you just don't want to worry about it, you can go up to, looks like 50 feet on a 1-inch pipe. So with my 3/4 inch hose that would normally have a 3/4 quick connect, I can't just connect that directly to the generator because that has a 1/2 inch quick connect on the generator. So what we can do is we can thread on a reducer. So this is a 3/4 to 1/2 inch reducer, then a 1/2 inch of male to male, and then our 1/2 inch quick connect. So that way we will have a 3/4 male going to a 3/4 hose going to a 1/2 inch female. All right, so we are on. And it will probably take a little while to purge all the air out of that gas line before we actually get started. So I'm going to hit start, and I'm just going to let this guy try to start up. Yeah, there we go. First try. And that is actually not as loud as I was expecting it to be. I mean, it definitely makes noise. The neighbors are going to know about it. But, yeah, that's pretty great. I was expecting this thing to take a couple of tries to start. Usually if you hit the button, it'll try to start, it'll like cycle a few times, it'll stop, and then it'll try it again, and it'll stop, and it'll do that a few times. But maybe because we got that 3/4 line in there, it was able to pass enough gas to get it gunning. And with the 3/4 inch line, I am noticing that it is running very stably. Of course, we do not have this at full load, so as we start putting a draw on there, it's going to have to rev that engine up more in order to keep the amps up. But I'm just going to let this run for about 15 minutes. Then I'll put a draw on it, probably like a portable air conditioner or heat gun or something like that, just to get a draw pulling out of it. Run it for an hour, stop it, change the oil, run it for another 6 hours, 6 or 7, stop it, change the oil again, and then that guy will be put in storage. Okay. Delivering power. Okay, so you can see that guy is still on. It has been 45 minutes with a load. And you shut that off. Shut off power. And stop. Very cool. So our drain hose is on a clip right here. Pull that out. And I do have a drain pan, but it's a little tall for this because we want whatever we're going to be draining into to be lower than this port right there. Here's the oil. You can see it is a little bit cloudy. So that means that there is definitely something in there. So that is why I always want to change that after the first hour. Put this guy back up. Refill it, run it for another 6 or 7 hours, change the oil again, and then that guy will be ready to rock. Love the power capacity, love that I got to deal with a carburetor, love that it's tri-fuel. That is the generator I've been looking for a very long time.